Greetings to everyone. Welcome back to Nguyen Nguyen's channel. Today, Nguyen Nguyen will share a story with you. This story is, in fact, a true account, documented by a journalist when he had the opportunity to participate in a spiritual journey in the Ninh Binh region. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Ninh Binh, it was the ancient capital of our Vietnamese nation in the past. Later, Lai Tsong Yuan moved the capital from Ninh Binh to Thang, Hanoi. This story is quite extensive, and I found it captivating online. Beyond its elements of spirituality, mystery, and the supernatural, it also provides us with further insights into history. Without further ado, let us delve into the narrative. As I mentioned, this story was written by a journalist. When he penned it for publication, he divided it into several parts. Therefore, I will recount it, following the same sequence, and the theme of our discussion today revolves around the untold eerie tales of a tomb that has been sealed and guarded, like the 8 trigrams formation in Trang and Ninh Binh. Chapter 1, The Spirits of Soldiers, led a deputy director in Hanoi to Trang En to seek the sealing formation. On an afternoon a few years ago, this journalist was approached by Ms. Nguyen T. Thursday Hong. Ms. Hong, who was then the director of the Center for Spiritual Communication, invited this journalist to Ninh Binh to attend an event, an international conference on spiritual tourism, at Bai Din Pagoda. The Ninh Binh region and Bai Din Pagoda are already renowned, so I won't elaborate further on them. While the two were traveling on the highway, Ms. Hong revealed that, in addition to attending the conference, she also wished to explore certain spiritual matters that had been brought to her attention. Her cryptic manner of speaking piqued the journalist's curiosity. The journalist pressed for details, and she offered a brief explanation. She mentioned that there was someone on the bus, an individual who possessed a connection and a profound understanding of spiritual matters in Trang En. Ms. Hong then gestured towards a man seated behind them. This man was named Lu Tai Bin. Mr. Bin, born in 1983, explained that he and Ms. Hong had another purpose for visiting Ninh Binh. The day of the spiritual tourism conference happened to be a beautiful one. After attending the conference, they were unable to find anyone who possessed a genuine and profound knowledge of the region's unique energy. Consequently, they decided to return and leave Bai Din Pagoda. They drove back towards the Trang En complex. The Trang En complex is divided into 2 main zones, Trang En and Trang En Ancient. Trang En is a newly developed area, stunning and radiant, truly a paradise on earth. However, it is, how shall we say, quite artificial, wouldn't you agree? Trang En Ancient, situated nearby, is more modest and less frequented. But this is the true Trang En, as the relics, the architecture, and the natural formations remain largely untouched. Yet this is also a limiting factor, as it deters many people from visiting Trang En Ancient. The individual who constructed both Trang En and Trang En Ancient is named Sun. Sun, like the word for lipstick. He is a native of Trang En, and he collaborated with his younger brother, named Truong. Together, Sun and Truong were determined to build Trang En and Trang En Ancient. After construction was completed, Truong became the owner of Trang En, the new zone, while the ancient zone was entrusted to Sun. The mysterious events that unfold occur entirely within this Trang En Ancient zone, my friends. During this particular trip to Trang En, Ms. Hong and Mr. Bin had carefully scrutinized the area. Let me reiterate that Mr. Bin, born in 1983, hails from Haiphong. However, his appearance suggests an age beyond his years. At that time, Mr. Bin was the deputy director of a company and the head of a meditation club. Furthermore, Mr. Bin was also a meditation instructor. He guided hundreds of people in meditation to improve their well-being and unlock the mysteries of the mind. As a university graduate, he was a well-educated individual not someone susceptible to superstition or blind faith. Yet, the events that Mr. Bin was about to recount, to the journalist, defied scientific explanation. Mr. Bin narrated an incident from 2 years prior, when he suddenly fell into a peculiar state, which he referred to as ko-dai. Based on my understanding, ko-dai is a state where one's soul, one's mind and spirit, becomes connected to the invisible realm. It is akin to a medium being possessed during a ritual. Mr. Bin, at that time, exhibited strange behavior, as if he were possessed. Mentioning this might lead some to label him as superstitious, but Mr. Bin was an ordinary person, with a stable mind and good health. He was even a leader in a company, a successful enterprise. Therefore, it would be inaccurate to suggest that Mr. Bin was superstitious and easily swayed by tales of the supernatural. Prior to this, Mr. Bin had not engaged in any spiritual practices, such as invoking spirits or seeking guidance from mediums. He had not performed any rituals or undergone any ceremonies to induce possession. Therefore, cannot be said that Mr. Bin's mind had been influenced by superstitious beliefs. However, following some inexplicable spiritual prompting, Mr. Bin found himself drawn to Nok Sun Temple. Nok Sun Temple is the temple situated on an islet in Hon Kim Lake in Hanoi. There, Mr. Bin danced and whirled uncontrollably. Upon regaining his senses, he made his way home, but his mind remained in a state of disorientation. Mr. Bin also recounted another experience. While he was dancing at Nok Sun Temple, he witnessed numerous soldiers, some with broken arms, others with broken legs, and some decapitated, covered in blood, a gruesome sight. Initially, these occurrences were infrequent. However, as time went on, their frequency increased, to the point that some people advised him to seek help from a spiritual practitioner, as it was evident that something extraordinary was happening to him. After all, an ordinary person would not exhibit such repetitive behavior. From time to time, I experienced dreams of a spectral nature. Such occurrences are commonplace. However, to be visited nightly by the identical dream is most certainly an anomaly. Troubled by this recurring vision, Mr. Bin sought counsel from various seers and fortune-tellers, yet none could offer an explanation. Finally, he consulted one last mystic, resolving that this consultation would be his last, regardless of the outcome. He had grown weary of his quest. Upon their meeting, the mystic gazed intently at Mr. Bin's forehead and declared, "Within the lines of your brow, I perceive a profound well. At its depths lie a tome, a blade, and the luminous glow of a golden moon." Mr. Bin, though apprehensive, inquired about a remedy, but the mystic confessed his inability to provide one, claiming his powers were insufficient for such a task and leaving Mr. Bin to his own devices. A couple of days later, Mr. Bin felt a peculiar urge, a compulsion to seek out an unknown entity, a sensation he couldn't comprehend. While wandering aimlessly, he encountered a man of about 40, who abruptly intercepted him, proclaiming, "You are connected to a general of antiquity. You must journey to Ninh Binh to uncover your lineage." Having spoken these words, the man recoiled, his voice shifting dramatically. He insisted he possessed no psychic abilities, that he was merely an ordinary man, and professed no understanding or memory of the words he had just uttered. It was as if, upon encountering Mr. Bin, some unknown force had momentarily possessed him, compelling him to deliver this cryptic message, an oracle of sorts. For 3 sleepless nights following this encounter, Mr. Bin, while leading meditation sessions for his students, witnessed a series of inexplicable events. Several students reported experiencing visions during their meditative trances, describing throngs of soldiers, the clangor of swords, and the spectral figures of warriors, strikingly similar to those Mr. Bin had observed at the Nok Sun Temple. These strange occurrences spurred Mr. Bin to embark on a journey to Ninh Binh, accompanied by a gifted student, well-versed in meditation and possessing some knowledge of the esoteric. Their expedition was driven by an undefined impulse, a blind pursuit without a clear destination or purpose. Upon reaching Ninh Binh and approaching a temple in Hoa Lu, his student exclaimed, "Why are there soldiers lining the road?" Mr. Binh, sharing the same vision, dismissed the possibility of a shared hallucination, recognizing the profound implications of their identical perceptions. He then ascended to Bai Din Pagoda to offer prayers. During his devotions, verses echoed in his mind. Startled by their sudden appearance, he failed to fully grasp their meaning, though he discerned a general instruction to proceed towards Trang En. He returned to his vehicle and, with his student, journeyed towards Trang En. As they traversed a mountain tunnel, they beheld a breathtaking spectacle. Legions of soldiers, arrayed in impeccable formation, their spears glinting in the light, stretching along the mountain slopes, reminiscent of a triumphant army returning from a victorious campaign. Upon arriving at ancient Trang En, an unseen force drew him inwards. At the foot of the mountain, he encountered Mr. Sun, the architect of the ancient Trang En complex. Mr. Sun immediately recognized him, declaring, "It is you! Last night, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw a spiritual seeker who would come here to meet me. It must be you." Mr. Binh inquired about a bottomless well situated high on the mountain. Mr. Sun confirmed its existence, referring to it as the Well of Heaven. Upon hearing this, Mr. Binh, as if guided by an unseen hand, strode purposefully towards the shrine of King Din and his military retinue. Upon entering the shrine, he wept uncontrollably, his sobs echoing like those of a long-lost child reunited with family. Those who witnessed this display were deeply moved by his inexplicable grief. Mr. Sun insisted that Mr. Binh and his student remain overnight, hoping to unravel the mysteries of the preceding days. As darkness fell, Mr. Sun illuminated the ancient Trang En complex. The electric lights cast their glow upon the Saw Key River, nestled beneath the mountain's cliffs. This river flowed towards a cavernous opening known as the Dragon's Breath Cave. From his vantage point at the temple, overlooking the river, Mr. Binh saw thousands of spectral soldiers in the water below, their cries of anguish echoing through the air. Gazing towards the Dragon's Breath Cave, he perceived a vast and intricate mystical formation at its entrance. And suddenly at that moment, his spirit left his body, meaning his soul ascended, my friends. His body remained, and his soul ascended, flying towards the Luong Cave, to find a way to break the formation. However, there was someone, a soul of someone, that flew out to block him and said, "General, sir, you cannot enter here. This is a suppression formation and cannot be broken." And when this person blocked him, the spirit of Mr. Binh flew back and entered his body. Right at the moment when Mr. Ben's spirit re-entered his physical body, a soldier, a vengeful spirit of a soldier from the river, appeared and entered the body of the female disciple, who accompanied Mr. Binh. The spirit proclaimed himself to be a soldier and addressed Mr. Binh as his master. The soldier said that Mr. Binh carried the lineage of the Nguyen dynasty, a former general, who was called the commander-in-chief. The soldier cried, lamenting his suffering and hunger, forced to serve as a soldier there, to guard the country's dragon vein. The soldier also said that Mr. Binh had been practicing for many years and had now returned to reclaim his past life. He also said that only when they had the commander-in-chief's seal, meaning the seal from Mr. Ben's past life, could they return, meaning escape from this place. At that moment, Mr. Binh came to understand many things. He understood his past life. For 2 days and 2 nights, Mr. Binh sat in the ancient Trang En area and recited the Great Compassion Mantra. To dedicate to his soldiers, he scattered a lot of gold and prepared numerous offerings. During his prayers, Mr. Binh said, "Allow the soldiers to return to their homeland, but forbid them from disturbing the mortal realm. If anyone has no place to go, return to me." And whatever path he chose to cultivate, those vengeful spirits would follow. After finishing these spiritual tasks, Mr. Binh met Mr. Sun again. Mr. Binh instructed Mr. Sun to organize a grand memorial service. to help the wandering souls in this place find liberation. Mr. Ben promised to support and assist Mr. Sun in this endeavor. That concludes the story that Mr. Ben told Ms. Hung. And the reporter, Mr. Ben, added that when Mr. Sun met him, he had a very strange feeling, as if Mr. Ben would be the one to answer all the questions, the spiritual mysteries of the ancient Trang and area, questions that Mr. Sun had been searching for many years, but could not find answers to. Mr. Ben's out-of-body experience further solidified Mr. Sun's belief in a legend about a strange acupuncture point, a suppression formation, perhaps the most important one from thousands of years ago. Returning to the present, on that car ride, the reporter asked if they had made any preparations for this trip. Mr. Ben replied that they hadn't informed Mr. Sun beforehand, even though he was the owner of the area, the one who would guide everyone in their search for secrets. Mr. Ben said they would just go on their own. If there was a karmic connection, they would meet. If not, even if they met, it wouldn't yield any results. At that time, ancient Trang En was immersed in the frigid winter days. There were few visitors. Both the new and ancient Trang En areas were shrouded in a dreary, gray mist. To reach Mr. Sun's place, they traveled by car to the pier, and from there continued by boat to reach Mr. Sun's ancient Trang En area. While on the boat, my friends, the reporter described his feelings. The mist was hazy, with mountains on one side and lush greenery ahead, but the surrounding scenery was obscured. Imagine being on a small boat in such a gloomy atmosphere. It's already eerie enough. Moreover, this was not an ordinary trip, but a journey to explore the spiritual realm, to uncover the chilling events that occurred thousands of years ago. While on the boat, the reporter spotted a very strange bird. Its body was black with red and white stripes, and it had a large beak, similar to a pelican's. The bird perched on a branch, right beside the Saoqi River. The reporter asked the boatwoman what kind of bird it was, as he had never seen one like it before. The boatwoman looked and explained that it was a ground phoenix, an extremely rare bird, thought to be nearing extinction in Vietnam. However, this species occasionally appeared in the Trang En area, and very few people were fortunate enough to see it. According to a legend, the ground phoenix often appeared on significant occasions, and only the luckiest individuals could witness this bird. As everyone was discussing this, the ground phoenix swooped towards the Saoqi River, diving towards the ground, before flapping its wings and soaring, vanishing into the mountains. It's like in ghost movies, my friends, where before something happens, there's often a crow or some other bird that caws loudly and then flies off, disappearing into the misty night. From the cliff face, the temple dedicated to King Din Tien Hong, Nguyen Bac, and the three military generals emitted the poignant sound of a monochord. For those who don't know, King Din Tien Hong was also known as King Din Bo Lin, the one who quelled the rebellion of the 12 warlords and held the Ko Lao flag. Nguyen Bac was a general, very close to King Din Tien Hong. He also contributed to suppressing the rebellion of the 12 warlords. Alongside King Din, hearing the sound of the monochord, in the cold and desolate winter landscape, with occasional bird calls echoing through the gloomy mountains, evoked not only a sense of melancholy, but also a feeling of unease. Noticing the expressions on everyone's faces, the boatwoman said, "This afternoon after lunch, Mr. Sun summoned the ferrywoman. He informed her that a spiritually inclined visitor would seek him out that evening. Mr. Sun instructed the ferrywoman to wait at the dock for the guest's arrival and then convey them across the water to meet him. Mr. Sun seemed to possess a foreknowledge of this visit. Indeed, it was Mr. Bin, Ms. Hung, and the reporter who arrived seeking him. Upon hearing this account, Mr. Bin remarked that such occurrences were hardly unusual, but rather commonplace when a communion of consciousness existed, often manifested through dreams. After some time, the group reached Mr. Sun, who, seemingly anticipating their arrival, had already prepared tea and refreshments. Mr. Sun, delighted by this reunion with Mr. Bin, graciously offered to guide them on a tour of ancient Trang An, personally navigating the boat along the Saw Key River. However, Mr. Bin declined to join the boat excursion, confessing his aversion to the potentially distressing imagery of starving and grieving soldiers that might arise. He preferred to remain near the guest house or wander about the foot of the mountain. Thus, only Mr. Sun, Ms. Hung, and the reporter embarked on the tour. Upon their return, Mr. Bin requested Mr. Sun to lead them to burn incense at the temple and then ascend to the sky well, situated midway up the mountain. From its vantage point, one could observe the mouth of Luang Cave and the Saw Key River. The reporter, upon encountering this well, expressed disbelief in the existence of a bottomless well. He cast a stone into its depths, yet, remarkably, no echoing sound returned. Mr. Sun then revealed that the well was indeed bottomless, having personally explored it numerous times with ropes and even oxygen tanks, yet never reaching its bottom. Thus, the Trang and locals referred to it as the Sky Well. A legend persisted concerning a book and a sword concealed within the well, echoing the fortune-teller's prophecy to Mr. Bin during his exile. Indeed, this well seemed to harbor profound mysteries. Evidently, Mr. Lutai Bin, despite his initial eagerness to examine the well, retreated as he approached it, claiming an overwhelming presence of negative energy and restless spirits, which he, as someone sensitive to such energies, could not endure. After their excursion, Mr. Bin confided in Mr. Sun that his return to Trang and after 2 years brought a sense of relief far greater than before, with a diminished sense of injustice and a less dense presence of wandering soldier spirits. He felt the negative energy of the area had partially dissipated. Mr. Sun then recounted how, following Mr. Bin's tearful previous visit, a mysterious monk of the Mantrayana school, accompanied by hundreds of disciples from Hanoi, arrived to perform a ritual to appease the restless spirits. This ritual was conducted twice, alleviating the spiritual unrest in Trang An and partially dissolving the mystical formation beneath the Saw Key River, thus accounting for Mr. Bin's sense of ease. This monk also revealed that ancient Trang An was a vital national energy point, guarded by a 1,000-year-old protective formation situated at the mouth of Luang Cave, beneath the Saw Key River. Intrigued by this revelation, Ms. Hung and the reporter eagerly requested further tales from Mr. Sun, hoping to hear more strange stories, chilling accounts, and enigmatic legends surrounding Luang Cave, the location of the 1,000-year-old protective formation. Now, let's proceed to the second chapter, entitled The Mystical Man-Eating Formation. Allow me to briefly reintroduce Mr. Sun for clarity. Mr. Sun, a native of Trang An, whose family has resided in this region for generations, explains that in ancient times, Trang An was entirely encircled by mountains, accessible only by a single path, traversing the Saw Key River and passing through Luang Cave. The Saw Key River flowed through the heart of a mountain, creating a unique waterway, the entrance to the cave. In his youth, Mr. Sun frequently ventured into the mountains with his friends, fishing, trapping animals, and gathering medicinal herbs. The lives of the Trang and people were inextricably linked to the Saw Key River. Later, due to intensified American bombing campaigns, in 1971, the government constructed a road into the mountains to relocate government offices, schools, and other institutions to provide refuge from the bombardment. As recounted in the first chapter, several factors led Mr. Sun to believe that Luang Cave housed a crucial protective formation. Prior to this, numerous chilling rumors circulated throughout the village concerning the river section at the cave's mouth. The village elders often spoke of the cave as a man-eater, claiming numerous lives over many years. Although every elder was aware of these stories, none could explain the phenomenon. Mr. Sun himself, having lived in Trang An for 65 years, traversing Luang Cave countless times, couldn't recall the exact number of tragic deaths at this eerie cave entrance. However, a few notable incidents remained vivid in his memory. One such incident was the sinking of a boat, resulting in the tragic deaths of 6 performers. Mr. Sun couldn't pinpoint the exact year, only recalling the elders' accounts of the incident during the French colonial period, around 1941 to 1943, a few years before independence. A troupe of 6 female performers was tasked with traveling into the mountains to entertain the combat engineers stationed at the front lines. At that time, combat engineers, guerrilla fighters, and many others sought refuge in the mountains. The Trangan region, with its dense jungle, was completely isolated from the outside world, making it easy to defend and difficult to attack, an ideal hiding place. Occasionally, performing troupes and cultural groups sent artists to entertain the soldiers. That day, around 5 p.m., as Mr. Sun recalled, the boat carrying the 6 female performers traveled along the Saw Key River and entered Luong Cave. This section of the cave was only about 100 meters deep. However, a strange incident occurred, for some inexplicable reason. As the small vessel neared the cave's entrance, a tempestuous squall abruptly arose, causing the boat to pitch and roll violently before capsizing entirely. However, the moment the boat overturned, the wind and waves subsided as if nothing had transpired. The ferryman, entrusted with the 6 actresses' passage, struggled to swim ashore. Upon reaching the bank and gazing back towards the river's center, he could no longer discern any trace of them. Consider this: the actresses were grown women, 18 or 20 years of age. When one falls into the river, they wouldn't immediately sink, would they? They would thrash and struggle for a time before succumbing to the depths. Yet, when the ferryman stood upon the bank, his gaze met with emptiness. It was as if something had dragged them beneath the surface near the cave's entrance, vanishing them instantly. At this point, the villagers emerged, their minds consumed by bewilderment. Why, amidst the encirclement of towering mountains, on the Zao Key River, a mere 100 meters wide, would a sudden tempest arise to engulf a boat? It was an utterly inexplicable phenomenon. The entire village rallied, launching a search for the bodies, but to no avail. Several days later, the bodies of the 6 actresses resurfaced, bobbing near the cave's mouth, the very location where Mr. Sun later unearthed the mystical formation deep below. According to Mr. Sun's account, visitors with heightened sensitivity, those with a delicate spiritual disposition, like Mr. Bin, would occasionally hear faint strains of traditional opera emanating from the cave's vicinity as they passed. Some even claimed to hear the ethereal laughter of young women. Following the tragic demise of the actresses, in 1959, another catastrophic incident unfolded at the cave's entrance. During the summer of that year, 4 women, all around 30 years of age, embarked on a journey into the valley for rice planting. Their boat, designed to transport rice, fertilizer, and other supplies, possessed a carrying capacity of at least 10 individuals. As you know, when transporting rice, one carries a substantial load. Therefore, having only a ferryman and 4 women aboard was entirely commonplace, not even reaching half the boat's capacity. Yet, inexplicably, as the vessel approached the cave's mouth, it abruptly capsized. All 4 women were adept swimmers and divers, accustomed to the Zao Key River's depths. Their tragic drowning was a profound shock. The cave's entrance was not particularly deep, yet the villagers' relentless search yielded nothing. Days later, as if preordained, the bodies of the 4 women surfaced near the cave's mouth, mirroring the fate of the 6 actresses. The inexplicable aspect was this: why did the bodies sink near the cave's mouth, yet those diligently searching failed to locate them? It was as if a spectral force concealed them, a phenomenon akin to being hidden by spirits. The boat's capsizing and the loss of the 4 women were not the final tragedies. On December 3, 1963, 5 students also met their watery demise at the same cursed location. These students were traversing the river for their studies when their boat was mysteriously engulfed by a sudden storm at the cave's entrance. Among the 5 were 4 girls and 1 boy, including Nguyen Thi Nu, Mr. Sun's sister-in-law. All the students were 10 years old and proficient swimmers. In regions with abundant waterways, especially in the western provinces or areas with numerous rivers and canals, children, unlike their urban counterparts, are taught to swim from a tender age. This stems from the fear of accidental drownings, should a child playing near a ditch or river lose their footing. Thus, swimming lessons commence early, around 6 or 7 years old. Children in the Trang An region could easily navigate the Zaoqi River. Therefore, the drownings at the cave's mouth were profoundly perplexing events, defying explanation. At that time, the villagers could only surmise one possibility. The cave's entrance harbored malevolent spirits that emerged to claim the lives of the children. Following the tragic loss of the 5 students, several more deaths occurred over the years. Notably, a quartermaster from the military medical station and a woman named Mrs. De both perished in separate boating accidents near the cave's mouth. In 2009, a 50-year-old man named Duk, while collecting mussels and clams approximately 200 meters from the cave's entrance, also met a mysterious end. Children were skilled swimmers, let alone adults. Yet, this man, engaged in his daily routine, suffered a tragic and enigmatic fate. His death caused considerable unease within the village. When he failed to return home by midday, his family initiated a search. They discovered his body afloat on the river, in a seated position with his knees drawn up. The peculiarity lay in the fact that his body surfaced almost immediately after his death. Typically, drowning victims take several days to resurface. Yet here he was, his body afloat with his shoulders and back exposed. Those on the riverbank, upon seeing him, initially mistook him for someone submerged, collecting shellfish. It was as if a deceptive spectral force prevented his rescue. It was undeniably strange, instilling fear and bewilderment among the villagers. Several mechanical workers were running electrical lines across the Zaoqi River, approximately 200 meters from the cave's entrance. This undertaking also resulted in 3 tragic fatalities. A power line snapped, plunging into the river. A nearby worker, while washing his hands at the river's edge, was instantly electrocuted and fell into the water. An elderly villager from Trang An, witnessing this, assumed the worker had slipped and, unable to swim, had fallen in. He bravely jumped in to rescue him but was also electrocuted. Another worker, alerted by the commotion, rushed to the scene and inadvertently stepped too close to the water's edge, suffering the same fate. The horrific electrocution deaths of these 3 individuals fueled rumors within Trang An, attributing them to restless spirits residing in the Zaoqi River. Long before these incidents, before the villagers became aware of the mystical formation beneath the cave's entrance, they believed the Zaoqi River to be a repository of grievances, a place teeming with restless souls, their torment echoing through generations. Wrongful persecution. Local legends recount that long ago, before each battle, King Din Tian Hong performed grand rituals at the Zaoqi River. The precise location, whether it held a strategic formation or not, remains unclear. Information from that era is scarce, but it is known that these ceremonies frequently occurred along the Zaoqi River, leading to the belief that this land bears a heavy burden of sorrow, a place steeped in lamentation. To comprehend the peculiar and sacred nature of this area, an understanding of certain historical details is necessary. Allow me to summarize the era of King Din Tian Hong. In 968, Din Bo Lin ascended to the imperial throne, proclaiming himself Emperor Dai Tang Min, or Din Tian Hong. He established the nation of Dai Ko Viet with its capital at Hoa Lu, present-day Ninh Binh. Din Bo Lin had 3 sons, Din Lin, Din Tone, and Din Hang Lang. Din Lin, the eldest, assisted his father in subduing the 12 warlords. However, in 978, Din Bo Lin designated his youngest son, Hang Lang, as crown prince, the heir apparent. Enraged, Din Lin murdered Hang Lang in the spring of 979. Later that year, both Din Tian Hong and Din Lin were assassinated within the palace. Historical accounts attribute the crime to Du Tik, a eunuch, a minor official. However, researchers have revisited these events and proposed an alternative theory, widely accepted, suggesting that the mastermind was Lu Hong, who later became king, establishing the early Lu dynasty. His accomplice is believed to be Jung Tai Hao, or Jung Van Na. In 979, Din Tone, Din Bo Lin's remaining son, ascended the throne, becoming Din Fida. He was only 6 years old. Actual power resided with the 10 generals, effectively led by Lu Hong, who acted as regent. High-ranking officials Din Dain, Nguyen Bak and Pham Hap, along with numerous other court officials from the Dinh dynasty, suspected Lu Hong of colluding with Empress Jung Van Na and launched an attack. Due to the significant disparity in forces, these officials were ultimately defeated and killed by Lu Hong. The name Lu Hong may sound somewhat unfamiliar, but he is, in fact, King Lu Dai Han, renowned for repelling the Song dynasty invaders. He would later establish the early Lu dynasty. Returning to the present narrative, Mr. Sun, while recounting this history, reminisced about his childhood, when he often heard village elders speak of King Din Tien Hong riding a water buffalo, leading troops in exercises with raised banners. Mr. Sun, deeply patriotic, researched ancient texts and compared them to his own observations, finding complete agreement. Inscriptions unearthed in Trang En, the ancient capital of Hoa Lu, confirm that General Nguyen Bak fought and perished there. Nguyen Tre also resided in Trang En. During the agricultural cooperative era, extensive land excavation for brickmaking led Mr. Sun to uncover further intriguing discoveries. A dilapidated temple dedicated to King Din Tien Hong was found near the Sao Ki River. Within, shrines honored generals Nguyen Bak, Lu Ko, Din Dien, and Trin Tu, for close confidants of the king, who met tragic ends under King Lu or Lu Hong. Local lore also speaks of 8 other Din dynasty generals summoned by Lu Hong to serve his court. Knowing they faced execution, they chose to drink poison and commit suicide by the Sao Ki River. Mr. Sun, along with Ben, Hung, and the reporter, stood upon a cliff overlooking the river. Later, archaeologists discovered the ruins of a pagoda known as Pagoda 8 in Ninh Binh. This pagoda originally served as a shrine to these 8 generals. Fearing Lu Hong, locals referred to it as a pagoda rather than a shrine. To further illustrate the extensive, tragic loss of life that occurred here, Mr. Sun led the group to a cliff face near the temple. Within a large glass case he had constructed, hundreds of ancient bowls, some broken, some intact, were displayed. Mr. Sun explained that in 2001, when the government encouraged community-based tourism, he conceived the idea of developing the Trang and ecotourism area. However, he fell gravely ill, bedridden for an extended period. He vomited everything he consumed. Several hospitals diagnosed him with terminal cancer and sent him home to die. His daughter, unable to bear witnessing his suffering, took him to Viet Duc Hospital in Hanoi, clinging to a sliver of hope. Doctors there determined he did not have stomach cancer, but rather a rare and dangerous ailment, perhaps even more perilous, that caused acute inflammation of the entire stomach. Even slight changes in weather or diet could induce fatal hemorrhaging. However, Mr. Sun attributes his survival and subsequent recovery to a spiritual force. Since then, he has worked tirelessly, indulging in alcoholic beverages and tobacco, yet remaining unscathed. It's as if ethereal entities residing within the Trang En region desire his continued existence. Their purpose? To witness the ongoing dredging of the riverbed, the persistent development of the Trang En area, and the unearthing of secrets concealed for millennia. Hence, in 2002, Mr. Sun established the Thien Truong Limited Liability Company, initiating comprehensive surveys throughout the Trang En vicinity. He, accompanied by his cousin, Mr. Nguyen Xuan Truong, embarked on the ambitious endeavor of constructing 2 distinct zones, Trang En and Ancient Trang En. This undertaking led to a series of extensive excavations and surveys, conducted on an unprecedented scale. Numerous ancient temple foundations and relics, weathered by the passage of time and concealed beneath layers of earth, were unearthed. These archaeological excavations illuminated a wealth of narratives, previously confined to historical records and oral traditions. Relics such as the vessels utilized by valiant warriors to consume poison and end their lives, serving as poignant testaments to their unwavering loyalty, are preserved by Mr. Sun within the 3 Generals' Temple. To substantiate the profound presence of restless spirits permeating the land, Mr. Sun guided the reporter and Ms. Hung on a boat journey, traversing the Tran Temple and venturing into the valley where, according to him, countless soldiers met a tragic end. Navigating beyond a towering stone cliff, the reporter and Mr. Sun delved deeper into the heart of the Tam Valley. This expansive valley, seemingly boundless, evoked an inexplicable sense of unease. Upon entering, a pervasive melancholy enveloped them, irrespective of their prior emotional state. It was as if the profound sorrow embedded within the very fabric of this place exerted an irresistible influence upon the hearts of all who dared to trespass. The landscape itself bore an uncanny resemblance to a coastal wetland, its terrain densely interwoven with an intricate network of banyan trees. These banyan trees extended their reach far beyond the valley floor, encroaching upon the mountain slopes and extending their sinuous branches into adjacent valleys, creating a sprawling primeval banyan forest of immense proportions. The reporter, upon witnessing this spectacle, was overcome with astonishment, unable to comprehend the nature of these banyan trees, their density and growth defying all expectations. Mr. Sun elucidated that this was not a forest of separate banyan trees, but rather a single colossal entity. In his estimation, this was the largest, most ancient banyan tree in existence, its expansive canopy covering an area exceeding 10 hectares, encompassing the entire valley and draping the surrounding mountains. The reporter, upon hearing this revelation, expressed his incredulity. Mr. Sun challenged him to locate a solitary banyan tree within the Tam Valley, asserting that despite the multitude of roots, trunks, and branches, they were all interconnected, forming an intricate web spanning kilometers. Thus, it remained a singular organism. The journalist found this phenomenon peculiar. While the sight of interconnected banyan trees with their verdant foliage and slender, tendril-like roots was not entirely unfamiliar, the notion of a single tree dominating an entire valley and enveloping mountains was unprecedented, unheard of not only in Vietnam but globally. To unravel the enigma surrounding this ancient banyan tree, Mr. Sun guided the reporter and Ms. Hung to the Tran Temple, a modest stone structure nestled beneath a towering rock overhang. Standing at the temple's edge, Mr. Sun gestured towards the expanse of the Tam Valley, recounting the legend associated with this place. According to this tale, 1,000 years prior, the valley bore witness to a gruesome massacre. General Pham Bok Ho, an unwavering loyalist of the Dinh dynasty, sought refuge in the Tam Valley following Luhon's usurpation of the throne. There, he assembled his forces, preparing to reclaim power for the Dinh dynasty. Unfortunately, Luhon's troops besieged the valley, leading to a series of bloody confrontations. Outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and facing dwindling supplies, General Pham Bok Ho and his 1,000 soldiers met their demise. Many of these valiant warriors, in a final act of defiance and loyalty to Emperor Dinh Tien Hong, chose to consume poison rather than surrender. Their blood flowed freely, staining the valley crimson. Thus, the valley earned the moniker Vung Tam, or Valley of Blood. The temple, initially known as the Tam Temple, was later renamed Tran Temple during the reign of Emperor Tran Can. An inscription on a stone tablet within the temple recounts that following the burial of the 1,000 soldiers, the local populace planted a banyan tree on each grave. Miraculously, these banyan trees, planted as tributes, intertwined and fused together, forming an intricate, interconnected network resembling a vast spiderweb. It is said that this intertwining symbolizes the unwavering unity and loyalty of these soldiers to the Dinh dynasty. These legends have been passed down through generations. Mr. Sun, having spent 65 years of his life in Trang En and countless days fishing and navigating the Tam Valley, can attest to the veracity of the legend. He has made numerous attempts to locate a solitary banyan tree, but his efforts have been in vain. All the trees are inextricably linked. Through the meticulous gathering of oral histories, the examination of historical texts, and the arduous process of dredging and excavating the riverbed, Mr. Sun unearthed these poignant narratives. He has extended invitations to numerous psychics, some of whom have sought him out independently, drawn by purported visions, premonitions, and beckonings from deities and the restless spirits inhabiting this land. Among these psychics, one claimed to have communicated with General Pham Bok Ho. The general's descendants, residing in Hung Yen, journeyed to Trang En, but according to the psychic, the general declined to return to his ancestral home, preferring to remain with his fallen comrades. This captivating narrative, imbued with elements of the supernatural and historical significance, offers a glimpse into a pivotal period in Vietnam's past. It underscores the cyclical nature of power struggles throughout history and reminds us that each ruler played a significant role in shaping the nation's destiny. Thus, they all deserve our respect. This concludes the second installment of our 6-part series on Untold Tales of the Supernatural. This video discusses the legend of the haunted tomb sealed in Thang, Ninh Binh. As this is my inaugural presentation, I sincerely request your support. Kindly like and share this video. Most importantly, please subscribe to my channel and activate the notification bell to receive alerts for future releases. Your subscriptions, likes, and shares provide invaluable encouragement and inspire me to create even more compelling content for your enjoyment. In the description below, you will find my email address. Should you possess any captivating tales, particularly those of a spectral nature, from your personal experiences, please feel free to share them with me. I will select a few to narrate for the benefit of all. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching. I am grateful for your subscriptions, likes, and shares. If you have any feedback, please do not hesitate to leave a comment below. I will endeavor to respond to each one. In the next installment, parts 3 and 4, we will explore the untold horrors of this sealed tomb, including the enigmatic 8 trigrams formation of Thang.